Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Welcome, Pastor Alan Latta, to Israel, or at least to Zoom.
Yes, in real time, amazing technology.
Yes. So let me just close this up here.
Shalom.
And how are you today?
Doing great.
You look a little hazy. No, it's your background that looks a little
My
hazy.
background, yes.
Are you in your office or in your home? Where are you?
I'm in Pop's Playroom, which is kind of a combination office. When I'm here, it's basically a lazy boy with books all around and a room for the grandchildren to play when they come see us. Yes.
Very nice. Okay, and I'm in I guess you could say I'm in Pop's Playground also. This is the bedroom for when one of my children who comes to visit, he's got two kids, and but it's my office most of the time. But this is the background that I love most because that's my backyard, the Judean desert.
So it's not a window then.
That's right.
Yeah, great.
So what's on your mind?
Well, we haven't spoken since before Passover, correct? And so I thought,
I don't know. It's hard enough for me to remember if I spoke yesterday to whom and to what.
let's and Israel's 75th anniversary. We went to a celebration at a synagogue. I thought it was a conservative synagogue. Saw pictures of rabbis on the wall, and then the current rabbi is a woman, so I'm not sure if it's a conservative synagogue. Anyway, very enjoyable. It was more of a celebration of Israel's wine than they were the sponsors. They did an excellent job.
There you go.
Yes.
Actually, I think that Israel Great Wine or something like that, Israel Wines maybe.com, they are based in Dallas area.
Okay, yes, then it was them. Yeah, I sent you a picture of me on WhatsApp of me arriving at the event. So yeah.
Aha.
So happy 75th.
Thank you very much. I don't feel a day over 60.
There you go. Well, I don't want to dominate the conversation, but if you're game to talk about Passover, I had a couple questions.
Sure, absolutely.
Fascinating story. Exodus 12, just 4 verses, 21 through 24. If I could read it, and then
Let me open it up first. 1 second. Yeah, let me do my old share here. Okay, here is Safaria, the website that I like to use. Let me move it over to English. Sign in. That's me. And here we're in English. And Tanakh, of course, is the Bible. And you said Exodus what?
12, 21 to 24, I guess.
Here we are. Okay.
He summoned all the elders of Israel. I'll read what you've got there, and said to them, "Go pick out lambs for your families and slaughter the Passover offering." Okay, so the question is about where that happened. All right, next phrase there. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and apply some of the blood that is in the basin to the lintel and to the 2 doorposts. None of you shall go outside the door of your house until morning. For when going through to smite the Egyptians,
This is God's name. They, for some reason, decided to put it in the
Right.
Tetragrammaton.
So when what should I say there? God,
So
or
for God, when going through this to smite the Egyptians,
we'll
the
see
for
that.
means because.
Okay.
At least in this translation, it's not. I would have translated it that way.
Okay. When going through to smite the Egyptians, we'll see the blood on the lintel and the 2 doorposts, and will pass over the door and not let the destroyer enter and smite your house. And you shall observe this for all time, you and your you and your
Yeah.
people.
Okay.
Oh, so the question is, go back up two lines, go back down, one more. So there's slaughter the Passover offering, take hyssop, dip it in the basin, and apply some of the blood in the basin to the lintel and to the doorpost. So I learned recently the Hebrew word for basin also means threshold.
Well, I didn't learn that the Hebrew word for basin means threshold. I learned that it only means threshold.
Wow. So is the lamb killed in the doorway?
That's the way I understand it.
Okay, that is fascinating. So go up to the next one, the next line.
Go down or go up?
Yeah, technically up, yeah. So take the hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin.
Again, I would translate this as dip it in the blood that is on the doorway, on the threshold.
Okay, so here's the next question. It's the next line. So go down.
Next verse.
Yes, next verse. For when going through to smite the Egyptians, God will see the blood on the lintel and the two doorposts and will pass over the door and not let the destroyer enter and smite your home. So they weren't allowed to go out of the door once they had applied the blood. And I always understood that God will pass over the house and no judgment will befall them. And the judgment will befall those that don't have the blood, which of course was the Egyptians who'd been slaughtering the Hebrew males for years.
Right.
God gave them a taste of their own medicine by the loss of their firstborn males. But here's my question. This passing over the door, is there in any sense of God passing over the door into the house to keep the destroyer out?
Let me take a look here. According to this is a slightly difficult passage, but a friend of mine, Rabbi Avram Noren, gave a lesson exactly on this passage, on this section. And let me see if I can find it on our Root Source website. He gave it within the framework of the of a seminar, a symposium that we had. So let me see if I can find it like this. 1 second. Here it is, the Hebrew word for Passover. So listen, one second. Yeah, it's just not telling much about him. So this is a half-hour long lesson.
Okay.
That we don't do a good job of summarizing our lessons. You got to watch them if you want to. So I'm not going to go into that right now, but I will send you the link to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I send it to you on, are you on, there you are.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's a half-hour lesson, and he speaks relatively slowly so that you can watch it at double speed if you'd like. Only 15 minutes, but it's very good. But getting back to my understanding of it, 1 second. God passed, or the word here, Pasach, which sounds like Pesach, which of course you might be familiar with the Hebrew word for Passover. Passover today is universally understood to be the name of the holiday, Passover. But really, Avar here, the first word, is Passover. Avar means to pass over. That's exactly what it means. And so God passed over while he was passing over all of Egypt in order to smite Egypt. he saw the blood on the top and on the sides of the doors, and he passed over those doors. So interestingly, you have the word Passover here twice in two different words, two different meanings.
Okay.
That's what I see it as. So did he pass over those doors and not visit upon those houses, or did he step on rest on those doors to guard the residents of those homes from the smitings that were going on?
So in no way does it relate to passing over the threshold going into the house.
No, I don't see that. I don't see that he goes into the house at all.
Okay. But he prevents the destroyer from entering, the judgment from coming.
Again, our Jewish tradition we read this story, of course, we refer to this story on the night of Passover.
Right.
And so one of the phrases there is that God did all of these things. He smatted. He smote the Egyptians. He did everything. There was no a angel and no a agent that did any of this stuff. It was all God's doing.
Okay, got it.
In which case, God went around in Egypt and killed the firstborn. And he also noticed the doorposts, and he didn't. And again, the verse here clearly says he will not let the destroyer go into your houses. So what does that mean? It was God that was doing the destroying according to that Jewish tradition. So maybe what it could be is that God has multiple aspects of his own, as it were, personality, his own nature. In other words, God is preventing the destructive side of his nature.
Okay.
He is God's a positive side of his nature, his loving and guarding side of his nature was keeping his destructive side of his nature from going into the house.
Okay. Does Elohim, in reference to God, point to a plural, multiple aspects of his nature?
It's an excellent question. Certainly not, according to Jewish understanding.
Okay.
God is one and absolutely one. That's the most important thing of understanding the oneness of God. However, God does have different
Expressions.
expressions. In other words, we recognize him in different ways. So, especially when God is referred to in the Bible as Elohim, as you mentioned, which recognizes his great strength, as opposed to the tetragrammaton, or however it is pronounced, this word, Yud Kei Vav, Yud, and then Hey Vav Hey, this word over here, which you see over here, the same word, here it's got the vowels, which we don't pronounce it anyway, so it's I don't know why they needed to give it vowels, but whatever. I guess those are the traditional vowels that it has. There it has more of God's nice side, as it were, his loving side. So here you see that God, in his God name, in his Jehovah name, he's the one who is destroying and smiting Egypt, and he is also the one that is guarding the Jewish people, the people of Israel, from being smitten.
So the vowels are a little different. Wow. Or just an extra.
No.
Okay.
Let me make this a little bigger so you can see a little bit better. Yes. So these two dots on the bottom,
Yes.
that is a shva in Hebrew. But you might have heard of the word schwa in English. I remember going up with it. It's an upside down e. It's like it's not a strong vowel. It's a slight vowel but I'm not going to get into it so much. So these two dots are a vowel.
It's the same for the one below. Okay.
Right, it's identical. Then you have this dot on the top that is representing the O sound.
Right.
So it's really ye, ho, and then va. And then you have this T-shaped vowel. That is why it's pronounced Jehovah in English, because it's got, those are the vowels that it usually has. But a traditional Jewish person will not pronounce this word. They'll say Hashem or Adonai.
Yes.
Now, this last thing over here is not a vowel. And that is where it is different from this one over here. That's probably what you noticed.
Yes.
Those are musical notes.
Ah.
In other words, the Bible, the book, the 5 books of Moses, which are read every week, they are not simply read, they are chanted. So let me read it to you, as the way that we would read it in the way that we read it in public chanting. Okay?
Okay.
ועבר אדוני לנגוף את מצרים וראה את הדם על המשקוף ועל שתי המזוזות ופסח אדוני על הפתח ולא ייתן המשחית לבוא אל בתיכם לנגוף. That's as opposed to simply reading it. ועבר אדוני לנגוף את מצרים וראה את הדם על המשקוף ועל שתי המזוזות ופסח אדוני על הפתח ולא ייתן המשחית לבוא אל בתיכם לנגוף.
Okay.
So that is the beauty of now all the 5 books, all the 50 portions, all the probably about 5,000 verses all have those musical notes to them, and that's how we read it.
Okay.
And interestingly, I would point out another interesting thing over here. Let me make it a little smaller so I can see it all. We don't really need the word lingof here twice. Here's the word lingof, which is smite. And God passed over. Also, there is a past tense and future tense playing around here in both times. God will pass over in order to smite the Egyptians, and he will see so you have here in modern Hebrew, this is past tense, but in biblical Hebrew, it's future tense.
Okay.
So that's what we have here every time. And then over here, v'lo yitain, here he will not give. That is future tense because it doesn't have the vav over here. I might be going over your whole your head over here, but it's interesting that we have that. This whole verse is talking about future tense over here, and I'm guessing that
it's Moses.
Afterwards it's mentioned that here it is, and on verse 29, and it happened in the middle of the night, and God smote. It's a different word here. Here he says struck down all the firstborns in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh was sat on his throne until the firstborn of the captive in the dungeon, and all of the firstborns of the animals. That's
Okay.
it. But it doesn't say here, let me see if it says anywhere, that it returns to that idea of that the Israelite people were spared that. No, it doesn't seem to mention that at all.
Okay.
Very interesting.
So,
Go on. I'm waiting for you to speak, sir.
okay. These conversations, it's fascinating to me how they go. I just have a little something and then we go, and then all these other questions come up.
Right.
Is the reason for not pronouncing the tetragrammaton, as some say, an act of worship and honor, or an effort to not take God's name in vain? In the King James Version, it's often
I believe. Sorry?
in the King James Version, when you see the word Lord in capitals, you know that's
Tetragrammaton. Yeah. So I would say it's a question of honor, because we're not taking God's name in vain when we're reading His word, his biblical text.
okay.
So I'm even though we have a double care to take care when we don't say the tetragrammaton, we don't even say the name Adonai, we say the word Hashem, which means the name.
The name.
And the other one of the other God's other names, Elohim, we say Elokim with a K instead of an H. Also to distance ourselves from the name. When teaching, then we do say God's name, but we never ever say the tetragrammaton, or whatever it's
Right. So,
the tetragrammaton. Here, let's take a quick read what it says over here. I'm not sure who wrote this. Michael Sperling. The Hebrew letters Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, in English YHVH, form what is known as the tetragrammaton, or God's four-letter name. Tetra means four. Gram, I don't know what that means. Given the long-standing Jewish prohibition against speaking God's name aloud, the word's original pronunciation is unclear. We've forgotten how to say it. And is traditionally not pronounced as written. Instead, a variety of substitutes are used, like Adonai, my Lord, and Hashem, the name, depending on the context. I believe that's exactly what I said. Wow. This fellow, Rabbi Sperling, he made it to this book, but I could have been quoted there.
yeah.
So yes. So that is the answer to your question.
So Elohim. So in creating the world, the name Elohim is used, right? In the beginning, Elohim or Elohim, or you just read it as Elohim?
First of all, it's Elohim with a regular H and not a ch.
Okay.
That's okay. And yes, it starts out with Elohim, Reshi Bara Elohim. Here we are.
Okay.
And then it keeps on going that way for the whole first chapter. He's only known as Elohim. I'm quickly noticing the word Elohim in Hebrew every time, and you, I guess, are looking at English and you see the word God every time.
Every time, right?
There's not a single time that it appears Yud K Vav K, God's name here.
Yeah. Then
Let's keep on going down all the way to the end.
The purpose of creating man.
Pardon me?
Go up one more. One more. God Elohim said, "Let us make mankind." So he spoke of himself in the plural because of his multiple. He is one, yes, but he's just so huge. He can speak of himself with plural pronouns, correct? Or is that in the Hebrew?
Okay, the only thing you have over here in Hebrew is the Elohim. Okay. What exactly this means, if we say that God is one, and it's not like he's got the the angel on this side and the devil on the other side. It's not like God is talking to numerous, multiple God heads or gods with small g's. He's one. So this is a very difficult verse. Who is God talking to? And why? And who is he referring to when he says in our image? Our likeness. Very difficult verse. Which is why when we click on it over here, we'll see a mere 199 commentaries on that single verse.
You see what Rashi says?
What does Rashi say? The meekness of the Holy One, the humility of the Holy One, blessed be He, learn from here. Because man is in his likeness of... I don't understand this at all in the English. I'm going to take a look at it in Hebrew for a second. God's humbleness we learn from here. Because man was created in the demut, in the likeness of the angels, and the angels would what is that in English? They would envy him. And that's why God, according to this tradition, this traditional study, he how do you say it in English? He took counsel with them.
Okay, he's making them feel included.
Right.
Because they're going to be his special creation. Yes. Okay.
Okay. A whole bunch of other things. So that's why he took counsel and he started to ask the opinion of those around him. Okay. He also said, let us make man, even though they didn't help him when he created man. And there is space for those people who are, we call them minim over here. How does he translate the heretics, to argue in favor of their own views? If it says here, in our, let us make man, so who's making man? But even still, as we said before, it teaches humility. And we should consult and take permission from the lower person. We wouldn't have learned that if it would have said, I will make man. So in other words, we are having an opportunity here to learn about humility. That is a traditional Jewish understanding, according to Rashi, of this verse.
Yeah. So humankind, so it's not necessarily the first man, but humanity is going to be involved in begetting humanity. How about that perspective? Fathers and...
Okay, the translation here, humankind, they had a problem translating Adam as man.
Okay.
Which is the well-known tradition of let us make man. And it doesn't say, I don't know what bothered them that much. This is the contemporary Torah of the JPS. Let's see what other translations they have over here. Only 34 translations. Here, the Koren traditional Bible, that's a little bit more traditional. He also said, let us make mankind. Interesting.
But it's the name Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, let's see what Mitsuda, he's very traditional. I don't want to see here. Let us make man in our image. There. So why the translators, the more modern translators, felt that they had to translate it into humankind. In modern Hebrew, the translation of humankind is not Adam. It's Hamin Ha'enoshi, the human race.
Wow. Okay.
or something like that.
So there's a summary of this in the first few verses of Genesis 4.
Whopa.
Go there. I have one other question.
Before you do, I'll just get to the end of Genesis 1, where we see the word Elohim.
Okay.
Then Genesis 2, this, of course, is a Christian traditional breaking up of the chapters. The Jewish tradition keeps this part of the first chapter.
Yeah, it should be. It's the 7 days. Yeah.
Right. I don't remember why the Christians decided to put that into the second chapter, or more specifically, what the Jewish tradition is that the Christians did that. In other words, the Jewish understandings of the Bible, the Jewish commentaries often would be in opposition to Christian traditions. So not that we would bring the Christian traditions and try to let them speak for themselves. We would cast upon what we were taught, what the Christians think. So I don't know. Anyway, I
always thought of it's a new chapter because this is the first day of man's life. Created on the 6th day, his first day is Shabbat. I don't know. What is that said?
No. We understand that the Shabbat is the last day of the first week.
Right.
It's the 7th day. Yeah. So to put it as part of this next chapter, I don't understand why it happened. We'd have to look up, maybe we could look up Bible Hub to ask over there why.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyway, but here we have in the beginning of this chapter, then all of a sudden, here you see with the word Elohim?
Yes.
But here we have Adonai.
Wow, the first time.
Right. Interestingly, it also has the word Elohim here also. So the both of them. That these the pair of those words, of those names, appears frequently in the Bible. Adonai Elohim.
Okay.
Again, Adonai Elohim.
Wow.
Again, Hashem Elohim.
Wow.
Hashem Elohim. In other words, the second chapter, it's up until now, it's always, pardon me?
Does it say Elohim or Elohim? Or you read it as Elohim?
I'm uncomfortable saying God's name.
Okay.
So I say Hashem, the name.
Right.
Elohim.
Okay. Is that written as Elohim or you pronounce it as
Elohim? It's written as Elohim with a hey, with an H.
Okay.
I pronounce it with a K.
Got it. Okay.
Here it is again. Hashem Elohim. Hashem Elohim. The whole chapter. It's just Hashem Elohim every single time. Again and again. Hashem Elohim. I've never noticed this so strongly before.
Oh.
And that's the end of that chapter. Then comes chapter 3. Still Hashem Elohim. Then it's back to Elohim.
Okay.
We haven't seen the word Hashem up on its own yet. Elohim. Elohim. Hashem Elohim.
Okay.
Hashem Elohim. Hashem Elohim. Hashem Elohim. Hashem Elohim.
Okay.
Hashem Elohim. Whoa, I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find just Hashem for the first time.
Yeah.
Here we are. Verse 4. Chapter 4, verse 1. And God knew, and Adam knew his wife Eve, and she got pregnant, and she she gave birth to Cain. And she said, I have acquired a man with God. For the first time, God's name stands alone.
Okay. Wow.
And then we skip then a verse without God's name. And then after a bunch of days, then Cain brought some of his fruits of the land, an offering to God, just Hashem.
Okay.
There you go. That's it. This whole verse, the rest of this chapter looks like it's just God's name, Hashem. That's very interesting. That is a topic that is more deserving than just a half an hour of us talking here.
Yes. Yeah, we have to come back to this. But can you go to chapter 5 to the summary?
You keep on saying it's a summary. I never thought of it as a summary. You're saying it's chapter 5. Let's see.
It's just the first couple verses there.
This is the book of the story of man on the day that God, and again, this time it's Elohim again, created man in Adam.
Okay.
Adam or man. It's interesting that maybe Adam's name really was just man. In other words, why do we translate Adam as mankind as man, but we don't translate his name? We just transliterate it. Interesting.
Yeah.
And he created him, or he did him in God's image. And then he lived for 130 years, etc., etc., etc.
Male and female.
Male and female, yeah.
Here's my question.
Male and female, he created them, and he blessed them, and he called them Adam, or man, on the day that he created him.
All right, so here's my point. It relates to the consequences of the fall. They sinned against God's will, so there were consequences. And the immediate consequences was shame and hiding and covering and blaming. And so after the curses came from God's voice, Adam then names his wife like he had named the animals. The woman he had thrown under the bus, named her Eve. But according to this verse, God had named her Adam. Is that far-fetched?
Yes.
They were the original Adam's family.
Yes. Again, the first chapters of the book of Genesis narrate the genesis of the world.
Okay.
And Jewish tradition says that you got to be very careful when reading and studying these chapters, because they are beyond our capability of understanding them. What do you mean God created? That happened before man was around. Man's intellect is incapable of understanding that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so when I see here the kind of things that seem difficult in the text, that like this whole verse is unnecessary. Why do we need that? You mentioned it's like a summary or a revisitation of the creation. We're not talking about the creation over here. We're talking about the progeny that Adam lived for 30 years, and then he had Seth, and then Seth lived, and then he had somebody else, right? Etc., etc. Enosh, Canaan, and all these people. So why do we have to remember that God created man, and then he created him as male and female, which is not very clear that's how he did create them in the beginning. In the beginning, he created man, and then he said, it's not good that man is alone. I wanted to have a partner. And then he put him he put him to sleep, and then he took a part of his rib and all that kind of stuff.
So is male and female Ish and Isha?
Well, Ish means a man, and Isha means a woman in modern Hebrew. And Zachar and Nekeva are male and female also in modern Hebrew.
Okay. So Adam refers to man, both genders, I guess. I don't know.
In this verse, clearly.
Yes.
And which of course is giving a hint as to why this translator translated as humankind, because while the first man's name was Adam, but we never saw that they were together named Adam. Adam named him Eve, as you said. So that is why they're translating it as humankind over here. Let's see what this says over here. In Hebrew, it's Adam. No, whatever that means. He named them man, and in parentheses, Adam. Again, for us to really understand this, we would need a lot more time to really understand why the verse is there at all, and what does that mean he named them Adam? Why didn't he name them Adam and Eve? And why do we care what he named him? Why do we have to repeat that he named them Adam if he already named them Adam way back then?
Yeah.
So we start, yeah.
So Eve had 3 sons. The first one's born. She says, I've gotten a man from the Lord. The second one's born named Abel. Well, the man from the Lord was disappointment when he killed Abel. So they had their third son, Seth, and Eve said something like, I have gotten another man from the Lord. I think you have to go back to, I think it's in chapter 4. So Cain is banished.
What is this?
Where is Seth?
It's here. It's in chapter 5.
Yeah, verse 25, 425. Adam knew his wife again.
Because Shatli Elohim Zera Acher Tachad Hevel Ki Harago Kain. Because God presented to me, he stuck out his hand and gave to me another seed instead of Hevel or Abel. That was because Cain killed him.
So is the other offspring in place of Cain or in place of Abel?
Place of Abel.
In place of Abel, yes. All right. So
that, of course, the word is similar here. You see, this is Seth's name. He called him Shet. Here it is, those 2 letters. Right? You see those?
yes.
Now, if you see over here, they're the same letters.
Okay.
I don't remember that sheet is a garment.
So there's another first in the next verse, I think.
What do you see here?
To Seth in turn a son was born, and he named him Enosh. It was then that, what is that word? Began.
Uchal, then began. Well, again, this word is not
Hashem. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Uchal here, on the one hand, it means beginning, but it also has to do with the word secular or profane.
Oh,
When people were calling God by his name, that profaned his name a bit because people were getting too buddy-buddy with God.
Okay, I thought it was like this is the beginning of. I got excited. Oh, this is the beginning of prayer. But not
Okay,
necessarily a good thing.
don't take my word for it. That's only one way of understanding these cryptic verses.
Yes.
But we saw that what is it's not enough. It's not enough to say that he called out to God, because Adam also called out to God, and Cain also called out to God. So it's not the same thing. Let's see if we got any interesting. Hold on 1 second. Only 51 commentaries here. Here, the word huchal is connected to profane here, chulin.
Okay.
In other words, you're calling the names of men and also calling the name of idol by the name of God.
Oh.
In other words, you're starting to mix up between God, the real God, and false gods.
So the wickedness expands. Wow.
That's it. That's what the Bible is. It's just the story of mankind, and afterwards the story of the Jewish people, the story of mankind and how they messed it up at every single chance they got.
But it's a demonstration of God's mercy.
Exactly.
He continued to reveal himself to mankind. Okay, I think we've gone into overtime. I have one more question if you have the time.
Okay, let me see how much time I got. 1 second. Where's my calendar? There it is. Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, it has to do with the curse of Adam is made the head and the wife's desire is for Adam. What does that mean? Does it mean she also wants to be in charge? Or she wants to see him succeed? We live in this tension in marriage, you know.
You can say that again.
So that's the question.
Let me go back to the screen here. What verse is that?
Genesis 3, I want to say 12. I could be wrong. Let me see.
All right, we'll check it out. I'll find it when I get to the content. So God said to the woman, what did you do? And she said that, okay, so then she blamed the serpent. And then he said to the serpent, you are cursed from all the animals. You're going to walk on your stomach, and you're going to eat, what do they call it here? Dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your progeny and her progeny. He, i.e. the woman's children and children's children, will slam you in the head, but you're going to slam him in his foot, in his ankle, heel. And then he went to the woman, and she said, I am going to make your sadness great. I'm greatly going to multiply your sadness and your pregnancies. You will give birth to boys, to children, in sadness.
Okay. And
regarding your husband, you will have much passion for him, and he will rule over you. Is this this is the verse?
Yeah, that's
your question is.
So the word for passion, what does that mean? Is it for his benefit, or is it just for the sake of a relationship? Or is there some type of competitive hint there that's going to be a problem that is going to create tension? I don't know if I'm making sense, but
I think you're making a lot of sense. I think the fact that you're saying all three of those might be a possibility.
Yeah.
In other words, what the woman has more compassion, more passion for the man than the man has for the woman?
I don't know,
I
but
don't know. I think it depends a lot on both women. Both people. It depends on the couple.
he's in charge.
I don't know off the top of my head here. Let's take a look at what's his name? Bible. No, I'm going to what's his name? Strong's.
Okay.
And this is what the chapter and verse was that?
That is 2.
No, it's 3:16.
3:16.
Your desire will be for your husband. Desire. Wow, this New Living Translation. Don't know where they got that from. Desire should be contrary to your husband.
Yeah, that a translation of that like that, I think, is what generates the question I've got. So yeah.
I don't know where these people got this stuff from.
Your desire should be contrary. Where'd they get this?
Yeah. So all desire and longing. I would say, interestingly, that the word, and this is why I came here to look at the at Strong's, which we'll look at in a minute. Teshukah, it's not only desire and passion; it comes from the same word same root, I think, as nishika, which is a kiss. In other words, it's related there.
Okay, so why would she ever have children if it's such a pain? Well, because she has passion or urge for her husband. So
Right.
I think that's the proper translation.
That's right. Oh, we got it all here. Where is this? Where's here we aren't. Am I going to get down to Hebrew? 1 second. Shukatech. A longing. Let's see what other words we have here. Very interesting.
Well, same word used.
The same word in 4:7. This is Cain.
Yeah.
When Cain said, why am I not why aren't you accepting my my offering like you did to my brother? Then he gives this very cryptic sentence. The desire at the door, you're going to master it, all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's it. Only 3 times it appears in the whole Bible.
That's good.
Luckily, I have the Hebrew concordance over here. I usually have it downstairs, but I've been using it over here. So let me see if I can find it. 1 second. In the Hebrew alphabet, this is one of the last words in alphabetical order because it starts with a tav,
Okay.
which is the last letter of and then it has a shin, which is the second to last letter.
Teshukah.
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 Mamish, the second to last page over here. Yep. Same thing over here. Those 3 words. Interestingly, there's another word here. Cheshek. Let's see what that is. There's another word called cheshek, which also is something that I want. And interestingly enough, the letters are similar. The word cheshek also is, I'm looking for something I want and I have a passion for it. It appears about 11 times.
Hmm.
Ashkan nafshi, my soul wanted something. But it doesn't appear until the book of Shmot, of Exodus.
Yeah.
Ay, difficult stuff going on over here. This is usually the stuff of lesson series that last for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah, well, I think the context, I mean, just thank you. You really helped me to see the misunderstanding that some are promoting. It's like feminism is trying to creep into the church, I think. I don't know. That's not what it means at all. It relates to the pain, and yet she's going to have kids because of this desire. Yeah, I like it.
It's possible.
Same word is used for the beloved in Song of Solomon. So
Right.
wow, time flies.
Yes. Okay, my good friend.
Thank you so
I
much.
believe we will see each other in another month.
Yes, sir. Fourth Mondays, the Lord willing. Yes.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.